It's Teresa Poor here with your Seven Pillars talk show in our Unbreakable online community. Some of you may be asking, what are the seven pillars? Well, Wisdom built her house on seven pillars. And as I created the Unbreakable Life community and the Unbreakable Life journey to really help women take back their power, I had spent some time reflecting on what were the seven pillars that I had to establish in my own journey of becoming unbreakable that I used to empower myself and now use to empower others. So I'm just going to quickly go through what those seven pillars are. And then I'm going to spend a lot of time with you and my new friend, Amber, about what pillar number 5 is. Oh, I just gave that away, which is health. But let me start from the beginning. So pillar number 1, self-discovery. We got to know who we are, to know all the unique caveats and things that are about us that are going to pull into every other piece of the journey that we're in. So the first pillar, we spend a lot of time digging into who are we? What do we like? Why do we think the way that we think? And what is the things that make us tick, the things that make us pull back? And how can we use that to propel us towards our journey? Pillar number 2 is our mindset and our mind shifting opportunities. Where is it that we find ourselves having either positive or negative thoughts towards every area of life? And what are those things that we may need to shift in order to live our life more fully? Pillar number 3 is those limiting beliefs. We'll find those as we start digging into those mindsets. Pillar number 4 is our trauma and our defining moments. Not all defining moments are traumatic, but all defining moments set you on a path or a trajectory towards your future. When we can identify what some of those defining moments are, we can look at them again and ask ourselves, do they serve us? Pillar number 5, we're going to spend a lot of time in that tonight with Amber, my friends, and we're going to talk about this one. It is health. And health is such a strong part of our journey because it really, if we're not healthy physically, it affects us mentally, it affects us emotionally, it affects us socially. All of the areas are attached to our health. Pillar number 6 is community. You know, I always tell people that having the wrong community can be very dangerous because the right information in the hands of the wrong people can destroy you. But when you're taking your life to the new level, the right information in the hands of the right people will excel you and cause you to go to heights that you've never even imagined. And finally, pillar number 7, our 7th pillar is taking all of that and creating your life of impact, or what I like to call discovering your purpose. Well, as I promised, we are going to spend some time tonight digging into pillar number 5, which if I look back at all of mine, that was probably the most impactful pillar that I had because this one actually propels us for our future. There's a lot of healing that happens in our health, but it also propelling ourselves for our future. So I want to introduce you to my new friend that I met as we were leading up to our last Unbreakable Women's Conference that we hosted just a few weeks ago in Elgin, Texas. And Amber really took some time to explain to me about her journey on how she discovered some natural health opportunities and how our bodies should heal themselves naturally with some help that we can learn about and we're going to talk about today. So let me bring Amber to the stage. Oh, I'm so excited to share her with you. Hey, Amber.
Hey, Teresa. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you to share your story with us. And I'm excited for you to really talk to us, Amber, about how did you decide that this was part of your purpose, like helping people take back their power when it relates to their health? How did you decide that that was part of your purpose? But before we get there, just tell us, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from? Introduce yourself to my friend.
Yeah, so my name is Amber Kemper Charlton. I'm originally from Nebraska, moved to Austin, Texas in 2018 to be with my wonderful husband. And I've always had just like a passion, I don't know, innately, I guess. A lot of people have stories from when they were young that they were sick or had a chronic illness, but mine was actually quite opposite. I was pretty healthy. My mom breastfed me, and when I would get sick, they were not quick to take me to the doctor. It was like, eat some orange pills. Here's a bottle of vitamin C. Here's some hot tea with honey and lemon. So I was pretty healthy growing up, and that part of that was like instilled in me, you know.
Sure.
And So that's kind of where my passion for natural health and healing came. And my mom's very passionate about it. My sister is, and we have some longtime family friends, and even like my aunt and cousins and stuff are too. So
Yeah. How unique is that, Amber, for somebody to really be exposed to all those natural ways? I mean, I feel like for me, it was so many antibiotics and blah, 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 just so many things that I was probably shocking my system a lot. But how common is it that somebody grows up in that, that mindset of just natural healing and natural health?
I don't think it's very common. I mean, most people that I met growing up or that I still meet today, that was the first thing you did was you take your kid to the doctor and you give them some Tylenol or, get them on some antibiotics and make sure they have all their vaccines. And,
Sure. Yeah.
there were times when I had that stuff too as a child, but it wasn't excessive. So I'm very thankful to my parents for, leading me down that path, I guess. So,
Yeah. Oh man, I love it.
and my sister, my middle sister, who I'm very close to, she was anorexic and bulimic for a long time, and she's 10 years older than me. So I saw how sick she got from doing that. And I know she was sick all the time and always taking antibiotics and had all kinds of issues. So I think maybe seeing some of that growing up is what instilled that passion in me too, to want to like help her and heal people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she's 10 years older than you. So she was very involved in your programming years, right? When we look at our adolescence, those first 1 to 7 years is a lot of programming. A lot of the things that we pick up are from that adolescent, super young, how we respond, how we react, how we respond to terrible, tough situations, all of that. And so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it, because it was probably very scary to see your older sister being sick.
Yeah, and I mean, like looking back, I don't remember a lot of the details. I just, I know that was part of my childhood, and that was part of
Yeah.
her childhood too. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure it ingrained something in me.
Absolutely. Everything does. We're little programming machines, right? Our brain just follows everything behind, and
Yeah,
we just get
yeah. And
out.
we have longtime family friends who my parents have known since before I was born. One of them had cancer, and will tell you that he cured his cancer with natural things. And so even through all the years, we're still friends with them now. We're always going back and forth with like new discoveries that we find with natural health and healing things. And,
Right.
my aunt had cancer and healed that naturally using a freeze-dried aloe vera powder. My cousin almost had her leg amputated after a motorcycle accident, took that same freeze-dried aloe powder, and the doctors said they had never seen anybody heal so quickly. She still has her leg. They never thought she would walk without a cane, and she does. She walks fine without one. And then like my sister that I was telling you about that had anorexia and bulimia, when she got married and started having kids, my nephews were real sick with, just allergies and eczema and asthma and night terrors. And she's like, that's not normal. And so she started digging in, and then that's what got me. And we both started looking into the toxins and vaccines. And then that took us down this deep rabbit hole.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
We started learning about, the FDA, the CDC, and the pharmaceutical companies and all the corruption that goes on there. And so it's just pretty much my whole life.
Wow. What I love about that is that something that was, super scary like that with your nephew caused you to dig deeper. I feel like we find ourselves in the situation in our world right now where we're so surface level on things, and we're literally just bouncing from one thing to another, even in the form of like, social media reels and things like that, where we have access to so much information, but it's in little 30-second snippets that we get just enough to kind of know something to be dangerous, but not really enough to make any changes or to be helpful for ourselves. And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to start these 7-pillar discussions. In the Unbreakable Life Journey, I'm not the healthcare provider. I just connect people to people like you who are awesome at what you do, who have taken the time to do the research. I just have my own personal passion around it because I've seen my life changed by it. So, and I think the people that are going to listen tonight are going to be super excited to learn more about what these techniques are that you do and how potentially, what are some things that they can look at and what are some questions they can ask themselves to dig a little bit deeper and identify, what really is the right thing for me. Amber, one of the things I identified in my personal health journey is that we're all different. We know that. We know we're different, but all the way down to little teeny tiny pieces of our DNA that make us so unique, yet our current healthcare situation wants to put us all on the same plan.
Yeah, it's a one size fits all approach.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're like dealing with my healthcare against the healthiest of the healthiest, or probably not, because there's not that many healthy of healthies. So the sickest to the sickest, and trying to say that's normal. And, so I'm not going to get super down that rabbit trail because we got a lot of stuff
Yeah,
to
I can talk
cover.
about that for a whole hour,
Yes.
because if we're not sick, they go out of business. So they don't really have any incentive to get us well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we do though, because we have a purpose, right? We have
Yeah.
something that we are supposed to accomplish uniquely, individually, and then collectively, and we have to be well to do that. So that is one of the reasons that health is on my 7 pillars. Well, tell us, so I called our talk tonight high frequency health. So I know that probably created like this huge excitement for people. Like, what is high frequency? What do we do? My dad always told me, don't put my finger in a light socket. I listened most of the time. But tell us what PEMF is. And did I say that correctly? Yes. And how do the electrodes and all of those things, how does that work? Tell us.
Mm-hmm. So PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And something that's really interesting that I just was reading about the other day is that NASA discovered that when their astronauts would get back after long space missions, that they had a lot of health issues. So things like muscle atrophy, bone density loss, heart issues. And it was because they were so far away from the Earth's magnetic field.
Right.
And I thought that's really interesting. So it's almost like a fifth element to our health that our bodies need to survive and thrive. So, and our bodies require a certain voltage to stay in good health, which is about like 70 to 100 millivolts. And I won't get too deep into like that stuff, but it is really fascinating to me. I'm like a really big science nerd buff. And so when we get down to like this 40 to 20 millivolt range, that's when we start seeing diseases and cancers arise. So it's important to keep your cells charged, to stay within that healthy voltage and that healthy frequency. And ironically, we called this high frequency healing, but what's ironic is that it's actually lower frequencies that our bodies resonate best with, which are closer to the Earth's magnetic fields. So about like 0 to 30 hertz. Okay. So yeah, I mean, as long as we're staying within those healthy ranges and not going outside of them, that the PEMF is recharging your cells essentially into those healthy biological windows of voltage and magnetic field intensities.
Well, that's super scientific, but I think of like, our brain and how we're constantly firing things, right? And all these electrodes and all this stuff is firing through our body. And I'm sure that if there's not enough juice in us or power in us, that can affect those things. And so the signals don't go through your body the way that it's supposed to. Am I reading that right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and something else that's really interesting that I just heard the other day too. So think about this. Do you hear about heart cancer very often?
No.
Because your heart is the most electrical part of your body.
Oh, well.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't hear, I mean, there is heart cancer, but it's extremely rare. You don't hear about it very often because that's the most electrical part of your body.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And I would have never even thought about that. I think of all other types of heart disease and issues and cholesterol and, all the things that
Yeah, we
can get
do.
blocked, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, how long has this been around? Like I've heard and I've watched videos that say like go outside and do grounding techniques. And I know that's probably one of our questions over here a little bit too, but how long has this discovery or this type of therapy been around?
It's actually been around for over 4,000 years. And so back even in like 2000 BC, China was using magnets for just to correct health imbalances.
Wow.
Um, in about 550 BC, Hippocrates was using magnets to stop bleeding.
Wow.
And like 300 BC, the Egyptians were using something called lodestones. And they were using them for pain and migraines. And it's a natural mineral that contains iron oxide. And
Mm.
so we know that the core of our earth is also made of iron. And
Mhm.
so what's interesting about this is that lodestones have like a north and a south pole, just like our earth does. And so they use lodestones for compasses too. But so,
Wow.
I mean, it dates back to just, using magnets essentially.
Wow. Wow. That is really interesting that it's been around so long, and yet most people probably don't even pay attention to it. Again, we don't know. We're not taught
Mhm.
different types of ways to take care of our bodies.
Yeah.
Wow. I love
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
So how did you discover PEMF?
Yeah, so I think I first heard about it in like 2019 at a Facebook vendor event. There was a gal named Janet on there who I still work very closely with. She's in St. Louis, Missouri, and her story of using the system that I have in my practice, it's made by a company called Swiss Bionic Solutions. And so um, she found this system, and try not to make her story too long, and she tells it way better. But she had complex regional pain syndrome. She has Ehlers-Danlos. She was in a hospital bed in her house for 15 years, couldn't walk without a walker, couldn't drive. She was in so much pain that she said she never really slept. She had a service dog. She was on 29 medications and some really high doses of opioids.
Wow.
But she found a doctor who offered PEMF therapy with a different device than what I use in my practice. And then she was getting relief, but I don't know that doctor knew what he was doing, or he wasn't using the right intensities and frequencies. And she said it started to burn the micro blood vessels in her fingers because I think he was using too high of an intensity or something. So
Right.
she did a lot of research. She found Swiss Bionic Solutions, which is the system that I use and that she uses. And now she is on no medications. She can drive. She mows the lawn. She goes indoor skydiving, roller skating. Like if you met her now, you would never know.
Yeah.
So, hearing her story was really intriguing, obviously. But back in 2019, at that time, I was like, well, that's really cool, but like, I don't think I need it right now.
Sure.
But then, fast forward, my neck pain started getting worse. My back pain started getting worse. And so I started looking into it again, and then was referred back to Janet. So, and there's more to my story using it too, but that's how I originally found out about it, was I think back like 5 years ago at a
Wow.
Facebook vendor event. So
We find so much on Facebook. I found you there. Yeah. So talk to me. This is a question that we didn't really prepare for, but pain can be so hindering. You talk about this friend, and then you talk about your neck pain. And recently I had a hysterectomy because I had pain. And quite honestly, I was so used to the pain that I just functioned through it. I can't even
Mhm.
say with it because I didn't like it. Like we weren't hanging out together, but we really were, right? And I went to the gym yesterday for the first time post-op, and I was like, whoa, like I can move so much better now that the source of the pain was gone. What are you seeing with your clients and maybe even with yourself? Like, what are you seeing that this pain reduction is allowing you to do and have and be towards your life's purpose that you couldn't have before?
Yeah. So when I started looking into PEMF therapy more, I was just blown away by all the things that it can do. But one of the things that it's FDA approved for is bone growth and bone regeneration. So they recommend it for osteoarthritis. And, I thought I've got spinal stenosis and stage 3 degenerative disc disease. My neck was just really painful all the time. And then it started moving down to the rest of my back. And so that was originally why I got it. And it definitely helps in decreasing the inflammation and reducing the pain. You have to use it every day. A PEMF is something that you're going to get the most results from when you use it on a regular daily basis. But what was really interesting to me, and I did not expect this, is that when I got my system and set it up the day I got it, my PMS cramps started coming on. And when they come on like a freaking train. And if I don't catch it with ibuprofen right away, I've called in to work. I've left work early. I'm in tears sometimes. I have to curl up in a ball and I can't do anything.
Wow.
And they'll last for 2 days. The older I get, the longer they've lasted. So anyway, I laid on my mat that night and only for like 20 minutes, sat down at the dinner table with my husband and we said grace. And I said, this is insane. Like my cramps are 95% gone. And I actually started crying because I was like, this is unreal. There's no way they're going to come back and they're going to come back in a few minutes. They've got to, right? They never came back that cycle.
Wow.
So as long as I can get on my mat, my PEMF mat, every month and catch it like right when my cramps start, they'll be completely gone. And then an event we were at a few weeks ago, this is how powerful it is. Same thing. My cramps started coming on. We're setting up. I'm like, I got to get on it before people start coming. We didn't have time. We got slammed.
Wow.
So I didn't even have time to get on it. By the end of the day, 6, 7, 8 hours later, we're packing up and I was like, I had to go check. This is like kind of TMI, but I'm like, I had to go check. Did my period actually start?
Wow.
I had no cramps and it was just from standing by the system all day while other people were using it.
Because you're picking up the waves and the frequency.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because it actually, those magnetic fields will actually go out, like they penetrate through your entire body, through all your cells and tissues, but they actually even go out like 1 to 3 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's
Wow.
my story. And then like, we have so many stories of like the stories that Janet has from. So one of the amazing things too with Janet, okay. So after, she got back to normal again. And so now she runs her own business doing PEMF therapy as well.
Okay.
So that's incredible. She literally she had written a suicide note. Because
this totally changed her life. Like she's
Yeah.
gone from not being able to do anything to having a full purpose.
That's
and
what
a
I
lot
was
of
going to
passion
say. Yeah, she went from living in a bed and wanting to end her life to like, if you met her now, she's just so full of like passion and excitement and emotion and just like loves her life now, and the one thing I do want to point out is like, we don't diagnose, treat, or cure anything.
Mm-hmm.
We give all the grace to the man above because he's the one that really does the work, right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
I get emotional when I talk about it because her story is just, it's really incredible. But I mean, we've had people, we spent a weekend in Conroe, Texas, and we were there all weekend. And we put 40 people on the system. We had a guy who had neuropathy in his feet, hadn't felt, or it was like, I don't remember. Anyway, there's somebody there that had neuropathy in their feet, hadn't felt their feet for months or been able to move their toes. And just after one session could feel their feet and move their toes.
Wow.
And another guy that had shoulder surgery 2 years ago, had very limited range of motion and just constant pain in that shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
One session, he had better range of motion and no pain.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I could tell you so many stories, like somebody with, this wasn't at the event, but they had AFib and so it showed up on an EKG. They went and did a session, PEMF session, did another EKG, AFib went away.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And then like
such a huge range of medical things that have really, so everything. Tell us a little bit, Amber, about, okay, so you said a mat. So you have a mat that you use. And I remember at our event, you had your table. So I'm assuming the mat is on the table. Mm-hmm. I was a little busy that day, so I didn't have much time to come and chat, but
okay.
So the mat is there and essentially we lay or sit or whatever we do on that. But what's happening inside our body?
So like I mentioned earlier, those electromagnetic fields they're pulsating through all of your cells and tissues and recharging all of your cells and tissues. And, we have a lot of different cells in our body that do all different sorts of things. And so they all have to be functioning optimally for the whole system to work, or else it throws our whole body out of whack.
So do you feel like Royal, my husband, got me this thing. I don't know what it is. It's kind of cool. But you like put it on your skin and it like does this like contraction of stuff. And I don't even know
like a TENS unit.
Probably, yes.
Little electrodes, and it makes your resistance.
Yeah. It's really weird. And then it gets tight and then you're like, oh, don't touch me. But anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
What is that compared to this? It sounds like yours, you probably don't even feel it, do you?
No, most people don't, unless you're really sensitive to electromagnetic fields. I don't feel it, but some people do notice a little bit of a tingling sensation, but otherwise you feel nothing. You're just laying on a mat that feels you're laying on a raft in the ocean, and it's super comfortable, super relaxing. Wow. My system has built-in infrared in the full body mat, so it also heats up and I can control the temperature of that. So that feels really good. There's a lot of benefits to far infrared, which many people know. So,
okay. I know as a healthcare provider, obviously you can provide this service to people, but how does this work? Do they come into your location or do they actually purchase the unit and do it at home? Because you mentioned that it's a daily use kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I did just open an office inside of 4 Points Family Chiropractic here in Austin, Texas, right down the street from my house. A little tiny 90 square foot room there, which is all I need. But I wanted people to be able to come in and at least experience it and see the system. And as I mentioned before, people see results after one session. And a lot of times it's such an incredible transformation after just one session that they're like, I want one of these in my house. Right.
Wow.
So both, the purpose of, I want to offer the therapy and I want people to see what it can do and how powerful it is. But you can also purchase the systems, and ideally, since it is best to use it and you're going to get the best results when you use it on a regular basis, you would want one in your home. And you only have to use it. I mean, really, they say for just general health, twice a day for 8 minutes at a time.
Oh,
it really doesn't take, it doesn't take much of your time at all.
Yeah, we can do things for 8 minutes.
Yeah. And when people come to see me, I keep them for probably close to an hour. But, if they come and see me, I want to make sure that they leave feeling better than they did when they left. So if I have to, I'll spend extra time with them. And, sometimes it just takes a little tweaking and playing around with the intensity to see what works best for somebody. Because like you mentioned before, we're all different. We're all unique.
Right.
What works for one person may not work for someone else for the same issue. So,
right. So, a lot of times I actually was speaking to somebody that does some functional health earlier today. And a lot of times what we find is we're creatures of habit. Again, we'll put up with certain levels of pain and just think it's part of life. And it really doesn't have to be. I've learned that anytime our body is telling us there's pain, my chiropractor told me today, she said, our body, out of all the nerves, only 10% of them are pain nerves. So in other words, when we have a pain show up, there's got to be something big going on with that, right? Something has to be wrong in order for us to actually feel the pain. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to somebody who's like, I'm okay. I don't need to fix anything. I'm okay. To be proactive and to really put themselves first and to support their bodies better.
Mm-hmm. I believe in a holistic perspective. I'm not sitting here saying that, PEMF therapy is your cure-all. It's the only thing you need to do, because I get massages twice a month. I still go to the chiropractor. There's other things that I still have to do. But this is something that someone can incorporate into their regular routine. That's very simple. It's super easy to use. The system is super user-friendly too, if you have one in your home, and you don't have to live in pain. And if you don't believe it, just come in and see me and try it. Seriously. And just try it.
Yeah. I'm going to pop your website on here real quick so people can see that as well.
Sure.
But I know there's a couple things. the systems, I'm assuming you mentioned two systems, the one that was ineffective and your system that has been super effective. I'm sure a lot of people are probably going to go on Google and search PEMF therapy, and they're going to look at all these different things and probably do research on their own after watching this today. What would you say about the system that you have, and why should somebody consult with you before they pick something?
Yeah, so not all PEMF is the same. The system that I am using is it's not just PEMF. So when you come and see me, you asked kind of what happens, so what we actually do in there. I talk to you first. We'll do a consult, just discuss what your health concerns are and what areas of concern you have on your body and what's paining you. We'll lay you on the full body mat for usually about 8 to 10 minutes. That gets the circulation flowing. That opens up the meridian pathways. And then after you've laid, and so while you're laying on the full body mat, I do put these really cool blackout goggles on you. They have 12 built-in LED lights in them. We call this brainwave entrainment. So what's happening when you're wearing those while you're laying on the full body mat is that you're getting photic stimulation, which is light. You're also getting chromotherapy, which is color. And some people know different colors are associated with different healing benefits.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah. So look up chromotherapy. Like blue's good for relaxation, yellow's good for happiness, and red's good for energy.
Okay.
So you're getting the photic, the light stimulation, the chromotherapy with the color, and then I'm going to put headphones on you, so you're listening to binaural beats that go along with the magnetic pulses. So you get light, color, and sound. And basically what that does is it puts your brain into a specific, like we have different brainwave states depending on when we're awake or asleep.
Right.
And so, for example, beta brainwave is when we're alert and like focused and attentive. But the problem with that is if your beta waves are like too active, that can cause stress and anxiety. So what the brainwave entrainment does is it helps put you into that more like alpha or theta brainwave state where you're more like relaxed, and
which is probably like what we all need, because as we talked about this at the conference, we're on all day. On. And most of us women are in our masculine energy all day because we're just pushing and trying and doing. And yeah, that's where a lot of our stressors come from. And then it's manifested. Like I'm already like trying to fix my shoulder here. I had a massage today.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got the goggles on, the headphones. The other thing that I do is I put it looks like an oxygen saturation thing on your finger. It's called a plethysmography sensor. We call it the Sense. And this is probably one of the coolest parts of the system that we use, because it offers a biofeedback mechanism, and it measures your heart rate variability and your oxygen saturation. And the system can tell by looking at those and some calculation that it does what intensity of magnetic field your body can handle during a session. So it's basically making sure that you're not getting too high of an intensity or too low of an intensity. You're getting exactly what your body can resonate with.
So that's super important. My husband, we have this fireplace business, and he's telling me about BTUs, which is the British Thermal Unit. I'm not going to get into that, except except to say that not every house can handle a certain amount of pressure of heat. And I'm assuming our house can only handle a certain amount of pressure, and that needs to be determined before you put something in your body, right?
Yes, exactly. So like going back to the low and high frequencies, it's actually high frequencies are things like, microwaves and x-rays and stuff like that we actually don't want too much exposure to. Wow. So PEMF is considered what I have is a low frequency, low intensity system. And those are the systems that are also safe for you to use in your home.
Okay. So maybe I should change the wording on our title a little bit.
I was like, that's okay. We'll explain it during.
We know it. We know what she's trying to do here.
So in a metaphorical sense, actually, that's when you hear people say, we want to vibe at a high level. They're actually speaking metaphorically or like spiritually.
Yes. Yes.
God's high, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, in a literal sense, you don't, you don't want
Don't
that.
want it high.
So,
No, I completely can see that. So
yeah.
tell me, are there any issues with using it? Like, have you had any side effects towards it?
There's some, contraindications, like if somebody has any electrical implants, like a pacemaker or an insulin pump or a spinal stimulator. Trying to think what else. Oh, like cochlear implants.
So anything
Uh,
that's electric charge in your body already?
right, because the magnetic fields could interfere with that. Hearing aids are okay as long as you can take them out.
Okay.
And then it hasn't been like studied or tested enough on pregnant women, so they don't recommend it for that. Infants under 2 weeks, but babies that are over 2 weeks old can use it. And I've heard stories about colic in infants.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, sorry, there's like one other thing, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, I was going to say with the brainwave entrainment, because of the flashing lights, if somebody had a history of seizures, we wouldn't use that.
Sure. What about, you know what, you brought something, we just said something that made me think, what about people with autism or that have issues with stimulation? Like, is that a problem for them, or actually does it help them? I don't know. Any studies on that?
I'm not aware of studies off the top of my head with autism, but I can tell you one of the other features of the system that we use it's the system that I'm using is called the IMRS Prime by Swiss Bionic Solutions.
Okay.
And it has over 280 health conditions, the settings for those. So it knows what intensity and what duration, length of time it needs to be applied to the body for all of those 280 some health conditions. And it's already pre-programmed into the system. It's a touchscreen monitor. I'm like 99.9% sure. I think autism is one of those in the system.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
have a friend that she was using some sort of unit many years ago with a chiropractor, and it's something that she like holds on to. Does that make sense? Does that sound familiar? Like it's some kind of thing that they push buttons and she holds on to it, and it's a metal like bars that she holds on to, and it does something. It sounds like similar, maybe a very old version of something like this, but I know
That
it has to
might
do with
be.
electric currents and things like that.
Was it like a Rife machine maybe? I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know what that would be, but it probably had something to do with electrical currents.
Yeah.
So like a TENS unit we were talking about earlier, that targets the nerves and it's more just targeted at pain relief.
Okay.
Whereas PEMF, and they both work with electrical impulses,
Mm-hmm.
but PEMF is it's targeting the cells, so it's getting deeper
To the
through
cell
the cells
level.
and tissues. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, there's one other thing that I've seen a lot, particularly with chiropractors, or anytime you have any body work done, it's those vibrating plate machine type situation. Does that have anything electrical, or is it literally just movement?
That is more of the movement because that is stimulating the lymph drainage. So that vibrating is, but with PEMF, in a way, it's also a gentle detox.
Yeah.
So like I tell you have to drink water before and after doing PEMF, because if you don't, you're getting this gentle detox. It's stirring up those toxins in your body. And if you're not drinking water, they're just going to like recirculate in your body and go somewhere else in your body. So,
And they're going to drain out through like your lymphatic system as well, I suppose, or just regular passing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I had a question on here that makes me a little bit curious, which is you said, can we use it on animals? So tell us about that. Could we, and why would we?
Oh yeah. So Janet in St. Louis, she's got some vets that are using it, and this is very common and very popular for like racehorses, because another one of the benefits of PEMF is increased athletic performance and athletic recovery. So
Like, sign me up now.
yeah. So I mean, I think pretty much anyone that owns a racehorse is using PEMF on their horses, and I can tell. I mean, I have a few stories, but I could tell you one in particular about Janet's dog had a golf ball size blocked saliva duct. And the vet said that he needed surgery, but they couldn't get him in for 6 to 8 weeks. So she put him on her mat for 10 minutes a day, 10 days in a row, just on the lowest sensitive setting, because animals are more sensitive to this too. They don't need as high of an intensity.
Sure.
And
And
it
you can't tell
went
it.
completely away. It was gone. And so she said, as long as she puts them on it at least like every 3 weeks,
Yeah.
it doesn't come back. So it saved her a ton of money in vet bills.
That's
And
so
then
cool.
the last lady that I sold a system to a couple weeks ago in Houston, she works with animals.
Okay. So she'll get multi-purpose out of it. I love
Yep.
it. Love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
That's funny.
My dog loves it. When I go to just turn on my system, like not even getting on it, he starts freaking out and has to jump on it and lay on me while I'm on it.
Can they hear it?
I don't know if they can hear it, but I definitely know they can feel it, because I think they're more sensitive to those electromagnetic fields and that pulsing. Yeah.
That's so cool.
He loves it.
Well, tell me, number one, I know a lot of people, healthcare and health insurance, we rely, I feel like I've been self-employed for long enough to not be reliant on healthcare as my number one source, but a lot of people are. And I remember when I was in the career world and I worked for some at corporate America, I just did whatever health insurance said to do to take care of my body. I didn't, like what doctor I could go to, what providers I could go to. And so I know for a lot of people that we probably have the question of, how do I get this type of thing? Is it covered by insurance? What is like an expected cost per charge?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're just coming to me to do sessions, normally PEMF therapy sessions are going to be about $60 to $100 a session. Okay. I charge $80 for an initial consult and then $60 for a regular session. And most people are with me for at least an hour. Okay. And then I have packages, so you can get the sessions down to as little as $40, but it's not covered by insurance. And I want people to know I'm not here to get rich. That's not my purpose. I just want people to feel better. Yeah. And so, if somebody ever were to come to me with low income or feels like they can't do this because they can't afford it, I'll work with them and I'll do whatever I have to do.
That's really kind.
So,
cost per visit, if you think about doing it daily, at what point does it just make sense to have your own unit?
And that's the thing. It really does. I mean, like I said, I still support a holistic approach and I still get massage and chiropractic every other week. But these are things I've been doing consistently for years. And I can guarantee you I've spent over $10,000 on all of the other things I've done, acupuncture and disc decompression therapy and all these things. Even with insurance and copays, I've still spent a lot of money. Right. This is if you buy one to keep in your home, it's a one-time purchase. There's a 3-year warranty on it too. The company is awesome. They provide you with so many other resources in your back office. So when I first got my system, I didn't buy it to do a business. I just got it for my own personal use and used it in my home for over a year.
Wow.
And it wasn't until just a couple of months ago that I quit my corporate job and
congratulations.
Thank you. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my own business doing this. Why not? I've always wanted to have a healing business. I'm a registered nurse and it's incredible. The technology is just amazing. And the other thing too, is it's still, even though it's not new, it is, because 90% of people I run into have never heard of PEMF before.
Sure. It's an old practice, but a new idea, right?
Yeah.
For people. Yeah. I love that. And
Yeah.
there's so many things. Okay. So what other things should people need to know? I mean, my goodness, you shared so much and I can feel your
and I have even more I can share.
Of course you do. Well, tell me, what's one more thing that you feel like that people should know? Maybe it's related to PEMF as far as, how it works, or maybe it's just, a thought, a mindset shift on natural care or holistic healthcare. What's one more thing you feel like people should really know as they're thinking about this journey and really becoming unbreakable, but being empowered with their health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, just, there's other answers out there. There's lots of things that you can try. Don't give up, you don't have to live in pain. And I mean, that's really, I just want people to know that there's other answers out there, and you don't have to suffer.
Yeah. Well, Amber, thank you for sharing your heart around this, and thank you for jumping on and being willing to just share all this information. And I know a lot of people are going to be watching from different areas, and maybe the Austin, Texas area isn't convenient for them. But how can people stay connected with you? We have your website up here. Do you do like Zoom meetings to talk through consultations? Do you do anything like that for people that maybe aren't in a local area?
Yeah, I mean, I can hop on a phone call. I can do a Zoom call with somebody if they have questions about purchasing a system. Purchasing a system, there's a couple different ones that you can choose from. And different features that are optional. I have the one I have has got the brainwave entrainment and the far infrared and the sense monitor with the biofeedback, and those are all optional too. I highly recommend adding them in, but if you're purchasing a system, they range anywhere from about $4,000 to $9,000.
Okay.
One of them is a portable, like travel on the go system. And that's the more affordable one too.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I'll hop on a call with somebody. I'll do a Zoom call, answer any questions they have. And then, if somebody ends up purchasing a system from me, like that's not the end. I've been collecting resources for them. So like if somebody did want to turn it into a business too, there is a business opportunity with it.
Okay.
And I've been collecting resources for people to use, flyers and things that I've created, and just,
Yeah.
I want to be there and make sure that I'm answering their questions and helping them as much as I can. And Janet in St. Louis, like she's just been an incredible mentor and colleague with me too. And she's taught me so much. So I have her as a resource, and then we even have her lady in California. So,
Wow.
I mean, and I'm still learning stuff every day. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm a certified Swiss Bionic PEMF therapy expert, but there's so much more, to it to understand, and the science behind it and everything.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that, when you can really perfect your craft, you can help so many more people because you've got all this abundance. And we talked about earlier how community is so important, and having the resource, somebody they can reach out to, I think that is huge. Well, I can totally feel your passion, and I can really see your desire to help a lot of people live a life of fulfillment. And and a lot of times that is so hindered by the way we feel in our physical bodies, because when we don't feel well, we don't operate well.
Yeah. And I'm a like major empath, just talking about this right now can get me emotional. And so,
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I don't treat, diagnose, or cure. But I give people a tool that they can use to help with that. And that's the most important thing. So
Perfect. Well, one other question as we wrap up. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people that watch this that have access to a lot of people and some of the other ancillary type services, chiropractic, or massage therapists, acupunctures, facial people. What are good referrals for you? I'm assuming that
all of those.
connected. Yeah.
There was a story that I just heard the other day from Janet. Actually, she had a gal who wore hearing aids in, and then walked out and forgot to bring her hearing aids, because afterwards her hearing was better, and she thought she already had her hearing aids in. And that's not the first time that we've heard stories about people's hearing getting better even after just one session. So like audiologists, veterinarians, chiropractors, physical therapy, estheticians, massage therapists, because you can lay this on your mat and use it as like an added service to what you already offer to. So
I love that. Our bodies are really designed to heal themselves, but if there's interference or lack of charge, whatever that is, it hinders us. And we are called, I love the scripture, Ephesians 3:20, we are called to an exceedingly abundantly above life, but that means that we have to take ownership over that. We have to do our part to be stewards over our bodies. But too many times we give that power away to somebody else that is quote unquote the expert. And as we learned at the Unbreakable conference, is that most experts give you 7 minutes, and you just talked about you give an hour per session.
I mean, that's just huge. Wild to me. 7 minutes. It's like, I can't even remember someone's name in 7 minutes.
Yeah, you can't say it enough times without sounding really awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I would say to anybody that's on here tonight or that's watching this later is that part of taking back our power is realizing that there are really cool solutions out there and taking the time to get below the surface. We talked about this earlier, so much time just treading water. But where the real juices of life are is when we go a little bit deeper and we learn deeper, we become, better for ourselves. And that allows us to be better for our families and everyone that we're supposed to connect to and serve. So
yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Well, Amber, thank you for being on this call with me tonight.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited for people to hear your story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've got tons of information on my website, probably more than you need. I'm one of those people where, like, obviously I had 13 pages of notes here and could just talk for like another, who knows how long about it. But I'm just really excited about it. And this is it's a turning point in my life too, leaving the corporate world and starting this up and finally, I feel like I'm finally doing what I've been living to do and like what I'm passionate about,
I love it. I'm sure that in itself was a discovery process.
Yeah.
And
learning hasn't been easy. Starting a new business is not easy, but definitely been a learning process.
But when it's something that you're fueled by with passion, it helps you get through the hard. Yeah,
for sure.
So, well, I want to say goodbye to our listeners tonight. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for letting us share our heart. And just remember that you can take back your power. You can live your life's purpose, but it starts with deciding that you're worth it. And Amber and I both agree that you are worth it. So thank you for watching our 7 Pillars Talk Show tonight. We will see you in the Unbreakable online community, and please feel free. And obligated, just kidding, to reach out to Amber and share, what your questions are, because she wants to help you live your best life. So thanks, y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.